Today on Inquirer, around 14 million Filipino families consider themselves to be poor according to a social weather station survey. Unemployment rate in the Philippines down to 4.7% in March. And fuel prices to roll back by as much as 2 pesos and 70 centavos per liter. Good evening. A social weather station survey shows half of Filipino families considered themselves poor in the first quarter of 2023, a steady figure from its record in December 2022. John Eric Mendoza has the report.
An estimated 51% or 14 million families rated themselves as poor in the first quarter of 2023, according to a social weather station survey. It further notes that about 30% of families found themselves borderline poor, while 19% said they were not poor. In December 2022, SWS said there were 51% or around 12.9 million self-rated poor families in the country. According to the SWS, the national estimates were weighted by the Philippine Statistics Authority median population projections for 2023. The pollster also reports that the Metro Manila self-rated poverty threshold leaped from 15,000 pesos in December 2022 to 20,000 pesos in March 2023. The self-rated poverty threshold is the minimum monthly budget self-rated poor families say they need for household expenses in order to not consider themselves poor. For INQUIRER.net, this is John Eric Mendoza.
The unemployment rate in the Philippines improved to 4.7% in March, according to preliminary data at the Philippine Statistics Office. The jobless rate was at 4.8% in February and 5.8% in March last year. National statistician Dennis Mapa says 2.42 million Filipinos were available and looking for jobs in March 2023, lower than February's 2.47 million unemployed Filipinos. The industries that contributed most to reducing the ranks of the jobless were transportation and storage, accommodation and food service activities, wholesale and retail trade, and construction. On the other hand, the industries where most jobs were lost include agriculture and forestry, financial and insurance activities, manufacturing, and human health and social work activities. The Senate inquiry into the second sugar import scandal under the administration of President Bongbong Marcos was suspended Monday as Agriculture Senior Undersecretary Domingo Panganiban and other key officials did not show up at the hearing. Senate Blue Ribbon Committee head Senator Francis Tolentino moved to discontinue the hearing as witnesses vital to the inquiry were absent. Among the listed key witnesses or guests for the inquiry, only Executive Secretary Lucas Bersamin attended the hearing that opened on Monday morning. Those absent were Panganiban, former Sugar Regulatory Administration Head David Tadeus Alba, Department of Trade and Industry Secretary Alfredo Pascual, and National Economic and Development Authority Chief Arsenio Balisacan. Tolentino particularly called out the glaring absence of Panganiban, who is at the center of the Sugar Fiasco probe. According to Bersamin, NEDA Chief Balisacan, DTI Head Pascual, and Senior Agriculture Undersecretary Panganiban are currently abroad. Tolentino later noted that Alba had submitted a letter expressing regrets for not being able to attend the hearing since he is in Australia until June for personal reasons. This would be the second Senate Blue Ribbon investigation into the alleged irregularities in the import procedures of the Sugar Regulatory Administration under President Marcos' administration. The joint patrols in the West Philippine Sea by the Philippines and the United States and Australia may start in the third quarter of this year, according to Philippine Ambassador to the United States, Jose Manuel Romualdez. In a television interview, Romualdez reveals that continuing discussions are ongoing with the US and Australia. He adds that joint patrols in the contested waters are estimated to begin not later than the third quarter of 2023. This comes after President Bongbong Marcos' visit to the United States amid ongoing tensions in the Asia-Pacific region. According to a fact sheet released by the U.S. Department of Defense last week, the Philippines and the U.S. will expand cooperation on maritime security that will not just be limited to joint patrols. It adds that the goal is to expand cooperation on maritime security and maritime domain awareness. In March, the Philippine Department of Foreign Affairs said it was in the process of crafting guidelines for the conduct of joint maritime activities in the West Philippine Sea, including joint patrols. Next on Inquirer Today. Fuel prices to roll back by as much as 2 pesos and 70 centavos per liter. And Gilas Women's Jack Animam questions surplus of naturalized basketball players in the SEA Games. This Inquirer Today will be back shortly.
Kung nais mo pa akong makausap, kung pumapayag ka na sumama sa akin, ay buksan mo lamang ang ilaw ng inyong balkonahe.
These are just a few lines from these handwritten love letters that went viral.
Hindi ako makakain. Maging sa trabaho ay ikaw lamang ang laging nasa isip ko.
Many were touched and curious on the story behind Jaime's 6-decade-old love letters to Mercy.
Ako, si Jaime Reyes, 76, magsa-77 na.
Ako si Mercedes Soriano Reyes, 77 years old.
No, 78 ka, magsa-79.
Ewan ko lamang sa iyo kung ganon din ang nadarama mo. Sa akin ipawang katotohanan lahat ang sinasabi. Di ako makatulog sapagkat ikaw na lamang ang laman ng aking diwa't isipan.
Nakatago lang yun dun sa aparador namin doon sa Mandaluyong. Nasa kahon, tinatago ng misis ko yun doon. Nahalungkat ng apo ko. Ayun, isinend niya, sinabi sa akin, Daddy, pwede ko bang isend yung letter nyo sa Reddit yun? Reddit.
Going back in time, Jaime and Mercy's love story was written in a handkerchief factory.
Doon kami nagkakilala, napanyuan. Folder siya, ako naman ang pinakaparang boy na taga-bilang, taga-hakot, taga-dala sa mga planchadora. Tapos ako rin ang naghahatid ulit doon sa kontraktor. Doon kami nagkahulihan ng loob. Doon ko rin siya niligawan sa sulat na pagkasusulat ako, nilalagay ko rin sa pwesto niya doon sa mga pinofold niyang mga panyo, doon ko lang kinisingit. Takot akong manligaw noon, hindi naman ako nanliligaw ng harapan eh. Kaya pag manliligaw ako, sulat lang. Memorable na sulat ko sa kanya. Kung gusto niya ako, isagutin niya yung sulat ko kahit sa sulat din, kahit hindi harapan. Eh sinagot nga niya, binigay niya rin sa pinsan niya, doon niya pinaabot para lang makarating sa akin. Hindi ko na matandaan yung first date, pero yung second date, yun nga, yung October 23, doon kami nagtanan yung second date namin. Nanood lang kami ng sine noon, hindi ko na siya inuwi sa kanila.
Despite what seemed like a picturesque love story, Jaime and Mercy faced hurdles when they started their own family.
Nagkasunod-sunod yung anak namin. Nakaranas kami ng kakain yung mga anak ko, walang ulam, mangungutang lang ako ng 1 latong sardinas. Divide 6 yun, silang 6 lang ang kumakain, ako hindi na.
With hopes of a better life for his family, Jaime left to work abroad.
Ngayon, mag-apply akong papuntang Saudi. Yung application ko, nang ibinigay ko rin sa namamahala sa agency. Pagkakuha ng application ko, pinagpasapasahan yung application ko, pinakitan lahat doon sa mga nandun sa opisina. Tuwan-tuwa sila, sabi nila, sulat nyo ba to? Oo, ako. Maliit pa ako. Sanay na yung kamay kong magsulat ng magaganda. Lahat ng magagandang sulat, ginagaya ko. Lahat ng mga makursunadaan kong magandang drawing, ginagaya ko, nakukuha ko ng ganun, parehong-pareho. Ganun ang ng kamay ko. Kaya salamat dito sa kamay ko. Hanggang ngayon, pinakikinabangan ko pa. Kahit matanda na ako, napapakinabangan ko pa ito dahil ang trabaho ko, nung bago ako mapunta rito, nagpipinta ako ng mga building, ng bahay, ganyan.
Yung hirap na inabot ko, lalo na nung nasa Saudi ko, na unang sulat na dumating sa akin, talagang walang tigil ang iyak ko dahil nga sa lungkot na naranasan ko na wala ang asawa ko, wala ang mga anak ko, hindi ko nakikita.
Like the letters, Jaime and Mercy endured all the challenges for the past 59 years.
Sa ngayon, ang naging anak namin,
Diba?
5 babae, 1 lalaki. Ngayon, andito na sila lahat sa Canada. Puro mga tapos na sila ng pag-aaral. Kabila ng hirap na itaguyod din sila sa pag-aaral. Kaya ngayon, magaganda na buhay nila. Kailan lang ang huling sulat ko sa kanya? Kasi nga, sabi nung apo ko, sulatan niya naman si nanay, matagal na hindi nakakasulat, hindi namin nakikita sulat niyo. Sinulatan ko siya ulit, yun ang huling sulat ko. Nakalagay doon na nagpapasalamat ako sa kanya dahil nga sa sakripisyo niya, sa pag-aalaga niya sa mga anak ko, sa pagtitiis niya sa hirap na dinanas namin. Nakaraos na kami dahil nga mabaitan Diyos sa amin kung ano yung hirap na dinanas namin nung araw. Ngayon ginawa na binigay sa amin.
Local oil companies will roll back the pump prices of gasoline, diesel, and kerosene effective Tuesday. Starting Tuesday, May 8, the prices of gasoline will be cut by 2 pesos and 20 centavos per liter, while the prices of diesel will be slashed by 2 pesos and 70 centavos per liter. Meanwhile, kerosene prices will decrease by 2 pesos and 55 centavos per liter. This marks the third consecutive week of hefty price cuts amid softening global prices. According to the Department of Energy, oil prices fell globally. This despite concerns about the U.S. Federal Reserve's monetary policy stance after last week's rate hike and projections of weaker demand growth. Gilas women's Jack Animam questions the surplus of naturalized players in the Southeast Asian Games following the men's and women's 3x3 basketball competitions. Melo Fuertes fills us in with the details live. Melo?
Jack Animam sounded off on the state of the 32nd Southeast Asian Games and its allowance of naturalized players for each country. Animam and the women's national 3x3 team notched the silver medal after faltering to Vietnam in the final 21-16. But it wasn't until the semifinals when Animam and her wards were stunned by the roster they would have to face. While they did defeat Cambodia in the semis, they were surprised to see WNBA player Megan Simmons. The National University product said that having this type of playing field would take away the essence of the SEA Games. The Starcager believes that the SEA Games is an avenue for countries to show off their own homegrown talents. The men's 3x3 team faced the same wrath, falling to a naturalized player field Cambodia in the finals to settle for silver as well, falling 20-15. As it stands, the Philippines is 5th in the SEA Games medal tally with 61 overall medals. Neil, back to you.
Thanks, Melo. That's Melo Fuertes reporting live. Alamin naman natin ang mainit na balita sa mundo ng showbiz kasama si Irvin Santiago ng Bandera. Irvin?
Hi Neil at sa lahat ng mga kabandera natin all over the universe. Ito na nga ang latest Bandera Chika. Diretsahang inamin ng kapamilya actress na si Lovie Po na super kilig ang naramdaman niya nang kunan ang kanyang 18th birthday celebration sa hit ABS-CBN series na FPJ's Batang Quiapo. Isa ang nasabing episode ng serye sa talagang nag-viral kamakailan. Partikular na ang kissing scene ng mga karakter ni na Coco Martin at Lovie po bilang sina Tanggol at Mokang. Sa naganap na media ko ng Batang Quiapo, natanong ang dalaga kung dahil ba sa halikan nila ni Coco kaya siya kinilig ng bonggang-bongga. Ayon kay Lovie, inaasar at tinutokso nga raw siya ng mga kasamahan nila sa programa, lalo na ang kanyang tatay Pen Medina. Ang landi-landi raw kasi niya kapag ka-eksena si Tanggol. Sabi pa ni Lovie, mahirap daw hindi kiligin kapag ka-eksena na niya si Coco dahil napakagalingan nitong umarte. Bumilib din siya sa aktor dahil bukod nga sa pag-arte ay siya rin ang nagdidirect ng serye. Chika naman ni Coco tungkol sa viral kissing scene nila ni Lovie, sinadya raw niya talaga ito dahil bigla niyang naisip na mas maganda kung may bago silang pakilig ni Lovie sa Batang Quiapo.
Hindi mo maiiwasan yun. Kasi parang pag pinapanood mo pa lang si Coco na nagdidirect at the same time, habang ginagawa yung eksena na yun, siya pa din yung nagdidirect habang nakikisig kami. May kita mo siya pa yung afternoon, siya pa yung magkakat, siya pa magsasabi na kung saan. So, mahirap hindi kilagin talaga.
Sinadya ko lang yun. Hindi, naisip ko yun ora mismo. Nung sabi ko gano'n, sabi ko maganda to after ng pagka-uwi niya, napanaginipan niya pa. Kumalo up yung nangyari. Kasi wala naman nangyari nun, di ko kinilig lang siya na-appreciate niya na meron pumalit dun sa escort niya eh. Pero, ang pinaka-nakakaano dun, kasi dapat sa totoo ng eksena namin, nag-kiss lang kami ng isang spot. And doon naramdaman na namin yung music habang sumasayaw kami. Nagdire-diretso na. Kumbaga parang hindi na lang kami na gano'n. Naramdaman namin eh.
So, hindi scripted?
Ha?
Hindi scripted?
Hindi.
At yan ang bandera chika natin today. Thanks, Neil.
Maraming salamat, Irvin, and these are the stories you need to know today. I'm Neil Mercado. Follow INQUIRER.net on Facebook, Twitter, YouTube, TikTok, Instagram, and Reddit. For more stories, visit INQUIRER.net. Good evening.